Bushrangers have been regarded as larrikins, rebels, in some eyes revolutionaries, certainly a colourful part of Australian folklore.
But were they really heroes or nothing more than murderous criminals? Well, joining us in the studio to discuss this are Peter FitzSimons, myself, author of Ned Kelly, who's here for the love of it, not the plug, Paul Terry, author of In Search of Captain Moonlight and Ned Kelly's Last Stand, and New South Wales Police Inspector Stephen Radford. Great to talk to you all. Let's start with you, Inspector, because you've got the most impressive uniform. Now, you've got a community effort underway in your region, and it's about recognising the work of the police officers in this time.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. One day I was talking to a local truck driver in our hometown of Adelong, and he gave me a history lesson on bushrangers and a police grazing Gundagai that had fallen into disrepair, and told me I should be disgraced as inspector at the condition of them. And next morning at 7 a.m. he turned up at my house, stole the coffee and said, "I'm taking you to the graves," and off we went. 12 months later, after seeing the graves of Sergeant Parry and Bowen, my region commander, Mr. Warboy, said, "Steve, I want you to do something on local history. Bob's your uncle, do what you like." So I knew exactly what to do. We were going to restore the graves, and that's how we started the project to restore the graves with Wagga and Cootamundra, local area commands. But it went more than that. We started getting a lot of feedback from the local community. We held a meeting at Radford, the beautiful town where he was actually shot and killed. Of a population of 200, half the town turned up to that meeting, and they really wanted to push the achievements of Senior Constable Bowen as an icon of their town. Some of them were a bit disgruntled that the Moonlight had all the limelight.
It's always the way, isn't it? We remember the Bushrangers, we don't remember the coppers. And so is this project of yours about dispelling the Bushranger hero myth or promoting the coppers?
Well, I don't think you can do one without the other. What we're really about is obviously romanticisation of the bushrangers that happened, and we can't turn away from that, but we need to acknowledge that we're real victims in that era. They weren't just robbing from the rich, there were poor victims, there were police officers that were killed in their line of their duty, and we need to respect those. And as Gen Y take over policing, we need to give them a legacy to look up to and to work towards and be proud of serving the community. I know when local solicitor Max Burmeister, who's here today, Max, thanks for coming, I got him enrolled on the project. I said, "Do you want to work on Project Bowen?" He said, "What's in it for me?" He said, "Will I make girls?" And I said, "Yes, Max, you will meet girls." So that's good enough. We've moved on from there.
Sure.
And,
it's an even deeper commitment now. Yeah, right.
Peter, when you were researching Ned Kelly, what conclusion did you come up with? Was he a hero or a villain?
The best line I heard was down at that wonderful town of Beechworth, where the guy that has played Ned Kelly for the last 20 years said he was somewhere between a heroic villain and a villainous hero. Right. You know, he was somewhere between. What Ned Kelly was for me was this staggering story. It's an amazing story, and certainly the tragedy of the victims is a large part of that. I think particularly of Sergeant Michael Kennedy, who was the last man shot by Ned Kelly, and it was a shocking story. He was pursued by Ned Kelly. They had a gun battle. Sergeant Michael Kennedy's on his back, and Ned brings down, and Sergeant Michael Kennedy's pleading for his life. He's about to die. Ned says, "If you're my own brother, I couldn't leave you here." And Sergeant Michael Kennedy says, "May God forgive you," and Ned Kelly pulls the trigger. It's a shocking story, and what happened to his wife, Bridget, is a shocking story. Because they were left behind. The only thing I just say very quickly on it, in our day and age, police good, criminals bad, no doubt about it. Back in that day, it was a lot more complicated. Commissioner Standish was known to, well, he was frequently having nude dinner parties at the Melbourne Club. Stanhope O'Connor, who was the chief of the Native Police, the most shocking thing, a week before he was called on the Ned Kelly thing, they had killed 28 Aboriginal people.
Yeah, and contemporaries were often seen by poor folk as an arm of the squattocracy, weren't they?
And the Premier of Victoria, in August of 1879, a year before Ned Kelly was hanged, said we may need to have a civil war here. I mean, it was turbulent times.
Paul, you've delved deeply into the story of Captain Moonlight, which involved Parry and Bowen. His gang was responsible, for those killings. In your view, what drove Moonlight? Was it only a lust for money, or more to it?
I think no. I don't think it was so much a lust for money. In fact, Moonlight was a career crook, a con man though, not a blue collar crook as such. His most famous or infamous act was the shootout at Radford, and the taking of Watabadgery Station hostage. But he netted something like £5 for that. He didn't go into it to run off with bags of loot. He just was his own worst enemy. He was a very volatile, erratic character. He just lost control after he saw it as years of persecution, some of it probably deserved, and he just lost control and behaved very badly. And you know, as a result, a policeman died, and so did some other young boys who were following him.
Yeah, indeed. So your idea is to, very quickly, to change perceptions around the bushranger myth, and you're hoping to do that through your efforts here, Steve. And it's a big job. It's pretty deeply ingrained.
Steve, to you.
Sorry, sorry, Inspector Steve.
On a serious note, we want to build a monument to him and use him as an example of doing the right thing rather than the wrong thing, with excuses, which I'd say Captain Moonlight sort of behaviour was testament to. But on a positive note, change that popular culture, bring him to his education, and Paul and I have been working together in the community, and I've got here a couple of our stickers from the project. I'd like to give you a couple.
Thank you very much.
Peter, Paul.
T-shirts.
Beautiful. And you got some Project Bowen t-shirt, Monique. I've got one for you. And
thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Good on you. Well, listen, thank you all so much for coming in this morning. It's a great subject that, you know, it'll take forever to get to the bottom of. You've got your thing on the wrong side of your face.
Good on you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Peter.
Absolutely. Yeah, good on you.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good project.
Thank you all for coming in.
Still to come.
On Weekend Sunrise.